This is the moment. This is the moment that we should have had an MC for this, and we didn't. And someone asked me earlier, Capelli asked me earlier, do we need an MC? And I went, nah, it'll be great. Me and Ben will just sort something out. And then I realised, as he clapped, oh, someone should do an introduction. No, it's too late now.
I think Ed's nailing it.
No. What this was an introduction. I didn't introduce anything, but we got started. So, hello everyone. This is the TPI Q&A. I promise that the Q is guaranteed. The A's may wander in quality based on what you ask, and there will be points for people who give us appropriately stupid questions that we can have fun answering, and also points for people who ask things that we've not been asked before.
Points?
Yeah.
Is this like Harry Potter?
We're British, Ben. That's the only thing they know about us.
Yeah, okay.
So you will be required to come and stand in front of this microphone, name your house. But yeah, we're basically here to answer any questions. Did you have anything you actively wanted to say? Or are you happy with just questions?
Well, no, it's Q&A, so I just assumed we'd
Cool.
answer questions.
I'm going to lead by saying it's lovely to be here. And I said this yesterday when they last gave me a microphone, mistake. It's really lovely to be here. It's really lovely to see a massive community of people playing the game that we love and we've helped work on. And it's also really lovely that people keep coming up to us as if we were majorly responsible. Like, we've helped, but just as much of the game is the people who play it and the community that you play in, and you all deserve to be part of that as well. You all make the game what it is. It's not a game if you're not playing it. So we're going to answer your questions, but we're not. Well, he's famous. I'm just here to give him an avenue to do sensible things.
I feel like I should have said yes when you said, "Do you want to say anything?"
No.
You said something really nice. I was like, no, I'm just going to answer questions.
No, fuck these people. I've got a contract.
Let's get this over with, okay?
Can I have anyone to be the brave soul that goes first question?
Hey,
Yes.
come on.
Straight up.
What's your name, young man?
Brendan, I'm a Ravenclaw.
Yeah. You seem like the type.
Is anyone surprised that the professed Ravenclaw is the one who actually followed the rules?
So my question is, I don't know if I need to kneel down or whatever, but I'm a loud boy. My question was, I just thought of this. Like, do we have like a defined timetable for releases of the for other home scripts? Is there like a ballpark or anything?
Depends who you're referring to as we. You, no. Us, kind of. It's a little bit nebulous. They're strict. Well, I'm just going to go to basics on this, and I've said this before, and you throw in when you're happy to. Scripts are really difficult to finish, right? I think everyone who's written a script knows this. Like, starting a script, easy. I've got an idea. I'll throw some characters on. You get about, 15 characters out of 25, and then it gets tricky. So the biggest thing on a very mechanical script writing basis is the expansion scripts were good. They were pretty much complete. And then we changed a load of rules because some of the mechanics in the base 3 didn't work. And then some of the characters that are in the expansions didn't work, including some that were defining features of those expansion scripts. We're talking the equivalent of suddenly going, oh, the T-Lady doesn't work anymore, and BMR without the T-Lady is a bit wonky. And so a load of stuff went wrong with the expansions as a result of the Kickstarter the Kickstarter happening and the releases and all the rules being defined for those. So it became a lot harder to do the expansions because we had to sort of go backwards and start over to a certain extent. We've said on Q&As before, Midnight is the most progressed. There's, I think, something like 85% of the characters on there, and it's just sort of higgledy-piggledy those last few in. And then it basically goes down about 10% each time. Which way around is it? Garden of Sin next, and then Tomb is tricky. All the characters are being play-tested, just not in these contexts, because basically, as far as Steve's concerned, is that the thinky bit, the game design, is his job, and he wants to create the scripts in a way he thinks he's happy with, and then get us to play-test them. But the way to do that is for us to go, okay, well, these characters work with these characters and not with those characters and these characters and whatever else. We need some jinxes, we need this, we need that. And so at the moment, all of our playtesting is going into characters and not into the scripts as they stand, because in order to slot those remainders into the script as they stand, you need to know how they're going to play with the other characters on the script. And Steve also has an infuriating habit. From my point of view, this is not a problem for anyone except me, and maybe John Jenkset, is he keeps coming up with new characters. And every time he does that, that's another character we need to playtest. And it's another character that I need to work out whether it works or not. With Steve, and we need to write jinxes, we need to write almanacs. And then he looks at it and goes, does this fit on one of the expansion scripts? And he goes, yeah, but there's a better version of this that I was also thinking of, and maybe I need to... So the answer is, if you start unraveling the piece of string now, I'll let you know when it reaches me when I've landed back in London. That's how long it is. We don't know. There is no defined timetable for the expansion scripts. We're working on them is the answer. That was a very long answer. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the things to keep in mind about TPI and what we're doing is that we are about half a dozen people with the work of over a dozen people that needs doing. There's all these very important things that are really important to us, and we know are really important to you guys. And about 50% of them have just been permanently on a back burner for the last sort of 3 or 4 years. And
you greedy bastards wanted a game or something.
That's it. And you know, slowly over time, we're taking things from Steve's plate, like, you know, the website update, which you may have noticed has recently happened, and little things like that that needed doing. Thank you very much, sir. that needed doing, and that Steve had to be involved in. And as we take those off his plate, more and more time is being dedicated to these expansions. We know that on the surface of things, it seems like, you know, the expansions should be the top priority, but the simple truth is that there's a whole bunch of boring stuff that needs doing before we can even move on to that.
You've got to run a business, which is
Yeah.
the least exciting thing about game design is once you've designed a game, you've actually got to, you know, produce and sell the game, and, you know, have a living. So he's spending a lot of time on those things. But to give you a metric, I'll say 4 months ago, I would have said I've not been able to talk to Steve about a lot of the expansion characters in the playtesting. In the last 2 weeks, conservatively, I've spent 18 hours talking specifically about playtesting and jinxes and almanacs and writing of characters. That's just what I've been talking to Steve doing, let alone anything he's done himself, which is more because he doesn't rely on me to do these things. He has more sense. He does all the creative stuff. I just make the creative stuff like fit together. So bearing in mind all of my bit comes after his bit, that gives you a scale of how much more we've moved now that things are starting to come together, like the website, the wiki, and various other things. The more we've moved into these things actually happening. Because those conversations are what drives all the changes, and there are actually some updates. I don't think this is about it. There are some updates coming to characters that you know about. So you know those character packs that we gave you? At least one of them is going to be out of date within the month. Because
What you mean is it will be a collector's item.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple of characters in there where we've been talking about changes to them for a very long time, and Steve suddenly turned around to me at one point the other day and went, "Oh yeah, you know, you talked to me about that thing. I like it, and I'm going to change it." And I said, "Oh, shit, right, okay." And that means that instantly all of you lot go, "Well, how does this interact with everything?" And I go, "Oh, no, I need to go and rewrite everything that's on." But yeah, there are some changes coming down the line to characters that you've now got, and that is all playing into how they're fitting into the future expansions. So it's all sort of one big smorgasbord of work, but it was a big smorgasbord of work that's happening as opposed to a big smorgasbord of work that we keep looking at and going, I have an hour for that. Anyone else got a question before I keep talking about...
I was going to say, we're going to get about 3 questions in at this rate.
This is my happy place, so yeah, he needs to stop me. Go on. Catan had a hand there. Yeah, go for it. You were hesitant, but you were the first hand and I was taking it. I would have counted that as a vote if I was the storyteller. So that's...
I was wondering if you could walk us through the process between seeing an interaction between characters and being like, ooh, I don't know about this, to realizing it needs a jinx, and then deciding what the jinx is going to be.
Oh, this question was made for you.
I just said something about my happy place, and they did not take me out of it. So, thank you. That's a great question. Basically, the moment there's kind of two ways that I find things that need jinxes. Number one is when we're doing the releases, generally it means that there's much more focus on an individual character. And then one of the things I do is the joyous thing that you've all seen, because you've seen the interesting interactions and stuff that I write up, is I sit there and I go through with that one character and compare it to every other bastard we've got. And go, okay, it doesn't work with this, doesn't work with this, doesn't work with this. And then I look at them and go, does it not work in this in a way that it's no longer fun, or it's actively broken, or it's got a rort that is unstoppable? And that's where most of the jinxes come from. And then the other the way I get, actually, this is a slight lie. Some of the jinxes that come in that context come because some people just randomly message me as playtesters and go, here's a combination. And I go, yeah, you got a point. I'll put that on the list. I'm trying really hard not to look at some of the playtesters in the room that do this. I just get DMs going, so...
Nah, call them out, man.
So, the Vizier and the Preacher. It's like, yeah, I got you. I'll work on it. So that's one of the ways. The other one is in gameplay, and it's most often not when they're actually in play, but it's the moment when someone goes, oh, I've just realised this person's claiming that. What would happen is an interaction with this? And you go, if I was in play, I'd have thought about this and I'd have a quick answer. It's not in play, and I don't have an answer, and now you know because I had to go, So, storyteller tip for anyone watching. Anytime someone asks you a question that you haven't got an immediate answer to, rephrase the question. It's buying you time, and it gives you a chance to think about what's actually going on. And because most of the time they'll ask it in the context of the game anyway, so you get to go, oh, you know, you've asked, if Adam is this, blah, blah, blah. You get to go, so if the courtier picked these things, and it gives you a chance to think about it, and then most of the time I can come up with an answer, and then some of the time I go, nope, it's going on the list. And so that's where all of those come from. The process from there is then going, is it broken? Is it unfun? Is it exploitable? If it's any of those things, we'll try and jinx it, or we'll try and adjust the character abilities to fit. What's really common is that we look at it and I go, this is one of those things. And then we have a whole conversation about it, and it turns out that it's only broken from one perspective, and it's usually the perspective of the character. The person who is the difficult character is the one that it feels broken for. And then from everyone else's perspective, they're like, no, that's fine, because we just do this thing. And it's really easy when you're looking at characters to be like, you focus on the character and you forget that there's like a game going on and like a social atmosphere which this comes in. And you're suddenly like, no, the good team doesn't care about that. They can do this or whatever. So a lot of jinxes, a lot of things we think are jinxes suddenly go, oh, this is actually fine. Just, you know, if you're in a Vizier game, don't put your hand up when someone claims Saint. That's a good one. There's no jinx there. I didn't put a jinx on that, mainly because that's the whole point of the Vizier, is that they can execute at a moment's notice. So if someone claims Saint and you put your hand up, you have to be willing to lose the game if you're wrong. So that doesn't need a jinx. By contrast, yeah, this is good. I'm getting to use the released characters to talk about it. By contrast, the Fearmonger, no one knows who the Fearmonger target is. So that's not fun, because as far as the entire good team is concerned, they don't know if the person who nominated is the Fearmonger nominating their target, and the Vizier might just kill it immediately. That's not fun. That's getting a jinx. I appreciate I haven't put these jinxes online because I've been at a con, and I have no data, and I rely on the internet in this building, which you may have noticed is not great. That's a vague answer to your question, but it's kind of nebulous because it comes in the context of, are they evil and good? Who's gaining out of this? What do you get? So you'll notice that a lot of jinxes have to be negative, and it's a sad thing that you basically have to go, I'm going to nerf one character for the benefit of another, or to make them play together. But then sometimes you get fun jinxes, like Terranovis, Goblin. Also, in the context of positive jinxes, the Vizier jinx with the Fearmonger is the Vizier wakes with the Fearmonger, sees who they choose, and cannot choose to execute that player. I think that's a fun interaction, because suddenly...
Oh, they don't.
I would like to observe that the noise was very disgruntled. The faces I was looking at were nodding. It's a great interaction because the Vizier doesn't get to talk to people as much as anyone else, and so they actually have someone on side with them. But also, it means that suddenly there's a reason for a Vizier not to be executing, and you get to look at that and go, why? And that's the whole point of the Vizier. Does that make sense? And it was, yes. If there's a poppy grower and the Vizier tries to execute and there's no good player voting, then we don't do triple jinxes because I only have, I don't know, 50 years on my lifespan. And we have more sanity and sense. We would.
That's not an issue though, right? Because at the end of the day, the fearmonger and they don't know each other, so.
Yeah, so it's less of a risk because the Vizier doesn't know who the fearmonger target is because they don't know who the fearmonger is, blah, blah, blah. It can still happen, and that would be really unfun. And I hear that. Here's a suggestion. Maybe rather than me having to think of jinxes,
Here it comes.
maybe when you're doing script design, this is known as passing the buck. I caught your pitch and it's coming back at you.
There's Alejo in here right now, just making notes.
This is. I'll call Alejo out. Alejo is one of the people who will point out jinxes for me. Alejo's great. They are very prone to this. They are also prone to say, when I go, that doesn't need a jinx, they go, right, I'm putting on a script together, then let's see what happens. So it goes both ways. So yeah, there's a lot of things like that which do come down to script design, and actually, you find out those by playing them, and that's the nicest thing about custom scripts, is that you put stuff together and someone goes, well, I'm going to do this, and then you go, oh yeah, that was a really unfun interaction, sorry, and then you redo the custom script, and that's fun, right? You get to redo a thing, all your players went, oh, well, actually, maybe that game wasn't fun, but now we've participated in improving your script, and next time, it'll be different. And this is actually one of the areas, we talk about custom scripts quite a lot. It's one of the areas where custom scripts get really loved by the community. It's not necessarily because they're absolutely amazing. It's really hard to do an amazing custom script. The reason that people love custom scripts is because they're new and different, and you get to engage with the script on its own benefits, and then you get to engage with the script writer, hopefully, a lot of the time, by giving them feedback and seeing what else changes. So I really appreciated this man, who is hiding behind a projector screen, Capelli, running the script building workshop earlier, because that sort of script building workshop is great for people to think about scripts and then to know how to give feedback and what to change. And I've talked a lot, so this next question had better be for Ben.
No, let's keep this going.
Yeah, come and have a microphone. And then there was someone over here who had their hand up. Right, you're next.
Jake, and I'm House Atreides.
Can we clarify House Atreides with an A as in Dune, or Atreides as in the username of the wonderful Scarlet Woman who did the song in the costume contest? Because both of those get you points.
Frank Herbert only do.
Okay, fair enough.
The question I had was, as you have more and more characters, you're going to have more and more scripts over time. You're going to get more and more jinxes and things like that. Are there like general rules that you'll initiate so that you can instead of having an infinite number of jinxes because we have a growing number of characters, could you implement, say, in the case of information gatherers, this character, has a jinx or those kind of things?
In theory, it was not a question for Ben, and I apologize.
It's fine by me.
I think this is one of Ben's favourite things, just chilling out and listening to people talk about Clocktower.
I didn't even know that little storyteller trick that you were like, hey, ask them to rephrase it so you buy time. I'm learning so much at this TPI panel.
Genuinely, we do a lot of stuff together. All the stuff where we get to give our opinions, we do separately. So I find out things that Ben thinks about Clocktower randomly in the middle of games, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. How did we never talk about that before? It's like we never sit next to each other and do this. Anyway, in theory, we could do general jinxes. The problem with it is Clocktower is largely defined by trying to make every character unique. And that means that even if we went information gatherers get this, well, every information gatherer gets information in a different way, and it impacts some of them and not others. It becomes really difficult. The answer to your implied question of what do you do when you have 1,000 characters and every one of them is jinxed with at least one other one is we give up on jinxes, and what we do is we put something that we've been steadily working on but takes a long time, as you can probably imagine, is putting guidance on the script tool that says this character's not recommended with that character. The easy ones are like, don't put the Poe in a Teensyville. I know it's got a very short name. That doesn't mean it fits. And then going beyond that to giving guidance of the king and Choir don't have to go together, but if you've got a king on there, maybe you want one. Or actually, T-Lady, DA, are good combinations, right? And then bad combinations, conversely. We don't want to jinx everything if we can possibly avoid it. What we'd love to be able to do is go, hey, these two don't play well together, but you do you, boo. If you wanna put these together, don't ask me how they interact when it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think. Oh,
Go on.
Sorry.
Hit the microphone for the response. Go on.
Yeah.
It's not a response. It's the reason I ask this question is because there's an increasing burden of knowledge, especially for people. I'd love to play every day. I can't. I can play once a month with my crew. And as we expand more and more characters and we expand more and more things, the ability for them to prepare for a game takes longer. From them seeing the script to feeling comfortable. It used to be 5 minutes. Now it's going to be 15. As you do more and more, it's going to be 30 minutes, and they don't feel prepared. How do I resolve the burden of knowledge for them in a faster way so that I don't have to worry about things like, oh, there's a bunch of jinxes, or I have to pre-plan the script so that it doesn't have what I would consider more fun characters or more characters they might be interested in playing?
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, he's out there making jinxes and trying to find out exactly how all the minutiae of these various characters lock and work together. But the simple truth is, Clocktower is more like D&D than it is Werewolf, really. Just make a call. It doesn't matter. As long as you're all having a good time, as long as you're consistent and you aren't making malicious decisions, which I'm sure none of you are. That wasn't meant to sound sarcastic, sorry.
It sounded a lot like you were calling someone out.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure none of you are.
I know a lot of people in this room, and I was scanning faces to be like, is anyone feeling the targeting there?
But yeah, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter a great deal. Some people love this stuff. Some people are in here right now loving everything that Ed's saying because they are really fascinated by how all of these mechanics work together and how they tune up together into this big machine that is Clocktower. And if that's your cup of tea, fantastic, great for you. But I'm not really like that. I'm not that bothered about strong mechanics. I want a bunch of people to sit in a room together, enjoy each other's company, and craft a narrative. And I don't care what the jinxes are a great deal. Obviously, I'll strive to make the right decisions and know the rules as best I can. But as long as my ruling is fair, as long as everyone's having a good time, that's 99.9% of what matters in this game, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the comparison here is I'm here to fix stuff and he's here to make it fun anyway. That's. But the other answer is if that is a struggle you're having, it's all about script choice and script writing. I appreciate people want to move on through scripts and do new things and try new things. The experience level, the required for a script, is broadly proportional to the number of jinxes on that script. So yeah, it is an unfortunate thing that someone who plays once a month and plays, say, 2 games on that evening where they play once a month is going to struggle to jump into some of the more advanced scripts that people are writing customs for until they've been doing that for literal years. People have different needs and different requirements. You've got to meet your group where they're at. And so if your group is turning around to you and going, this is a huge it's a huge learning curve just to start the game, then you need to adjust your script choice accordingly and answer your mobile so that they'll stop ringing you about what script you keep choosing. Sorry, I'm conditioned to take the piss. I can't not. But yeah, it's all about communicating with your group and finding what works for you. And that is the biggest part of community building that you need here. I will also observe on the front of Ben just saying make a call. I have at least twice this weekend seen people across the convention hall see me turn away from a grimoire and start walking towards me, and I'm like, you're about to ask me a question that I want you to answer yourself, and leave.
Were they players or STs?
No, storytellers have.
Right.
I've seen them
I
go.
thought it was some players coming to snitch on their storyteller. Ed, he just did this. Is it correct?
Yeah, there've been a certain number of stories. And I see it. I understand that I do the rules questions. I would much prefer you answer answer the question in the moment. And by all means, ping me afterwards and go, I don't know if this was right. Did I make the right call? And then correct it next time. And that's fine. That's exactly what you do in the moment if I wasn't there. You'd look in the almanac maybe quickly, or you'd just make a call in the moment, and then after the game, you look in the almanac and go, oh, I messed it up. Sorry about that. And then you tell your group next time, oh yeah, last time we were playing, I ruled this thing. It's actually that one. Ideally, you need to remember that for the next context in which it's relevant, because that's not very useful telling them that about BMR, and then you're playing S&V, and they're never going to remember that. But it's all about your group and what's going to be fun for them. And the most fun thing in the moment is not to stop while you go on the unofficial and just ping me and ask what's going on, because I have a baby now and I'm not responding. And it's
the baby is, though.
Yeah, the baby's all over it. He lies better than me already. Certainly makes more sense. Anyway, it's way more fun for you to just go, well, I think this makes sense, so in the moment, that's what we're doing. All good? And I think I instinctively approve you because you were the one who was cheering me on when I was talking about socials in the Cult of the Clocktower.
I came here for games, not therapy. That was very rude to give life advice. How dare you?
Yeah, we just did the Cult of the Clocktower panel, and I expressed an opinion that most of the room was like, and this lovely lady who's about to introduce herself was laughing so hard that her partner was trying to keep her upright.
You learn a lot about yourself in social deduction games. But that's actually kind of stepping back a little bit and relating to what you said actually about how you think Clocktower is more like D&D than Werewolf. So I'm a noob, and I'd only played online before this convention. So this is my first time playing in person. And both me and some of the other players I've met with, it feels like a really different experience, like a really different game. Like, I don't know Clocktower without the app. I know that's not how that started, but I don't know Clocktower without the app. So in terms of both explaining it to muggles, for lack of a better word, and and also the strategy going forward, you know what I mean, in terms of the Pandemonium Institute, online games, in-person games. Your website even says Blood on the Clocktower is an in-person game. And I'm like, well, it feels almost like a different game a little bit. But what's the vision? Online, in-person, trying to keep them the same, letting them just strategically be awesome in their own ways while you're storytelling. What's kind of the goal there? Because I love all of it.
This is built to be your question.
Yeah,
I'm going to go take a nap.
So, as you pointed out, the game online is inherently different to how it is in person. That's a simple fact. And there are certain strengths that the game has online, and there are other strengths that it has in person. I think we can all agree. Ultimately, our policy, and I hope the official app is kind of showing this off, is that we're trying to make the game online as much like the in-person game as we can do. Obviously, that is a somewhat Sisyphean attempt. Did I say that right, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. A somewhat Sisyphean task, because we'll never achieve that, quite simply. But at the end of the day, long before there was any app for this game, be it official or unofficial, this game existed and was designed for many, many years to be played exclusively in person. We cannot unmarry the game from that. It's not possible. It's never going to happen. So the only sensible thing to do is for us to try and have the app ape in-person play as much as possible, whilst leaning into some of the strengths of online play.
Yeah, and just because we're trying to get all the joys of the in-person game into the online game doesn't mean that there aren't things that we recognize specifically as strengths of the online game, and we'll play into those. So there are characters somewhere down the track, God knows, which Steve has discussed with me purely from the perspective, this doesn't work in person, but it'd be fun online. And conversely, you've already seen some characters, the Organ Grinder being the best example, which is really quite fun in person and is quite weird online. And the app is going to do the best it can for some of those, but it's not going to do everything. We all know the joy of being in a room with people that we love and get to have fun with, and experiencing the game with them is a totally different experience to a camera that is only getting you so much. But they have different strengths and weaknesses, and if you enjoy both, enjoy both. If you enjoy one, enjoy one. Steve enjoys in-person games much more than online games. That's how it is. There is the full spectrum of people and how they enjoy the game, and you should enjoy the game the way you enjoy it. There's nothing we want more than you to have fun. Actually, I mean, you know, you to have fun and stop nagging me about the little monster. That's the. Did we? Someone put a hand up. Another question. Go at the back, and then yourself next. Good rainbows.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of see if you'd talk about how the sort of online thing that happened, like, do you think it would have happened without the pandemic, and kind of the effects of that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So there were already multiple Discord servers playing Clocktower Online before the pandemic. Some of them have reps here. I think one of the oldest ones was Five of Swords, which which was all Capelli, obviously, and and then the unofficial sort of sprouted up. I think that was a pre-pandemic thing. But I think that what happened during the pandemic was that we were late releasing the game. We knew it needed more time in the oven, and I wanted to find a way to keep interest in the game up. And obviously, as a massive PC gaming nerd, I was acutely aware that Twitch was a place where you could, you know, anyone basically can create a Twitch channel and start streaming content. And so consequently, I just thought, well, you know, let's do a cheeky little charity stream. Let's see how it goes. It'll at least be fun. And we ended up with hundreds of viewers. So
Credit to anyone who remembers the Roll20 days of trying to run Clocktower Online, because that's one of the few ways we could get indications of things. Or anyone who's further back than that, who was in the early days of the unofficial, when we used Paint as MS Paint to do your town squares and to record votes and ghost votes. Now that's a party.
It was just too convenient. We had to stop.
Yeah, we joked recently about doing a mega stream where we'd run 4 games back to back, where we'd go through the history of Clocktower Online and start with running in Paint, and then go to Roll20, and then use like the earliest version of the brain tool that the original Clocktower Online that we could roll it back to, and then go to the app and just see players go, oh, thank God. And just watch the sign-ups for game 1 being like 2.
But yeah, no. I mean, to answer your question seriously, no. I think the pandemic was in a weird way somewhat beneficial for TPI and for Blood on the Clocktower, because it forced us to find a way to, I guess, transform this game from its everyone sits around in a circle together roots to something that is going to be much more approachable for people all over the world. Because the simple truth is that we're sat now in one of the richest nations on earth. We're from, you know, a first world country in Europe. We can drop $150 on a board game if we want to, but the average guy in India can't do that. The average guy in China can't do that. You know, and by being forced to transform Clocktower into its digital form, we've actually somewhat accidentally made it much more accessible.
There's also that point. Right.
There's also what?
I thought something and then gone. That's it. That's all I had.
Thanks, Ed.
I'm helping. I had 3 hours sleep last night. It's a convention. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. We're at a convention. Why are we here? Why are we? Genuinely, we're here because there was a huge community that got to play online, and most of you would not know most of the others because you don't live in the same state. You don't live in the same city. You live an hour's drive away from each other. And I know that an hour's drive to you is like, I'm not bothered. I ain't driving an hour to go and play his games. I'm playing games at home. Why would I do that? Like, if you can play games online, you meet a whole new community and a whole new world. Like, there's people throughout this convention that I was so excited to turn up on Thursday night and hug. Like, I didn't care about playing a game with them. I wanted to come to see this person that I've known online, I've played with online, I've chatted with online. I only know because Clocktower went online, and then I got to turn up and be like, hey, Capelli, I love you, man. Give us a hug. And that is what online Clocktower was made for. And also, I get emotional easily.
Yeah, of course I do. Come on. That's me. I got a little offended then for a second.
I had the best job of the whole con.
There was a chap I pointed to who had the next question. Yeah. Yourself. Cool.
Hi, I'm Mungo, House of the Rising Sun. Over the long, expensive time that you've both story told and played, what scripts do you find are the most enjoyable to storytell versus play?
Are you asking for a contrast, or just which ones are most fun and which ones are most fun in each situation?
Kind of the reason and the contrast between why a script is fun to storytell versus play.
I think ultimately it's about the people that are playing there, right? So if I'm in a rock and roll band and I go to a gig that's classical music and get up there and start shredding solos, no one's going to have a good time, right? Well, some of them might, but the vast majority of them won't. I will. But ultimately, I think it's about the group. Like I know groups who are like, we hate the evil twin. We just never put it in. We don't like it. And it, and so if I were to recommend a script like SMV with the evil twin to those guys, it would be a bad time. It would be a bad time for them, and consequently, it would be a bad time for me running it because no one would have a good time. So it's kind of difficult, I think, to answer that question. Would you say that's fair?
Hit us with what do you enjoy playing though? What script?
I enjoy scripts that lean into my strengths, and my strengths are social.
So what Ben's saying is give him a script with absolutely no information on it, otherwise known as werewolf.
Wow,
that's a bit unfair. But you've often said like you love playing the butler because you don't have any information. You just get to play the game.
Yeah.
Right? You get to play the people and play the game.
Yeah, for me, like Clocktower is just like going to the bar with some friends or sitting around to watch a movie or something like that. Like the thing that we're doing is there to facilitate socializing, enjoying each other's company, and becoming better friends over the course of the game. So I'm not, I don't want to sit and do shitloads of maths or anything like that. But I appreciate some people like that, and so that's why I really like BMR because it kind of caters to both of those.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. My answer is also wildly dependent. I can't give you a script that is my favorite and one that isn't, mainly because if you ask me at 4 a.m., I'm going to run the jankiest bullshit you've ever seen in your life. And if you ask me, mid-afternoon, I'm going to be very up for one of the base three, which probably sounds like the wrong way around, but I'm weird and I like it. Conversely, if I'm playing, I want to play what you want to run, and I want to play what the other players want to play. There are scripts that I look at and go, "Oh God, no!" But if someone brings out that script, Indigestion Brewing, and people go, "Ooh," I was like, "Sure, let's play that. That sounds great. You're excited. Let's play that." Because the social contract of gaming, right, is all about. We're committing to play. We're committing to play, and we're committing to play together. If you're coming into it with people going, "I'm not that fussed about this," you're not going to have a good time. So the best thing for gaming is to find the way that you can enter with everyone being prepared to have a good time, and ideally have nothing in the root of the good time that's going to knock you off course into yelling at each other that it's Legion.
We've completely avoided answering this question.
We have completely avoided answering this question.
But I think you made a really good point there about I want to run what you enjoy playing, because ultimately if you're a player, the enjoyment comes from being involved, getting involved with the mechanics, all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you're the sort of person who likes to organize and run things, if you're a dungeon master, if you want to referee a football game, if you like to organize tournaments or run Blood on the Clocktower, the fun isn't really from the specific minutiae of the mechanics, is it? It's in standing back there and looking at these two guys who are on the same team argue with one another and enjoying how that's and looking at these two evil players being a little suspicious of whether or not one of them isn't really evil and that kind of thing. That's what you're there for. And so ultimately, as long as they're having a good time, as long as they're enjoying those mechanics and exploiting them and doing something interesting with them, that's what's fun. For me, at least. Yeah,
totally. And just one very quick note about online play, which I've had people ask me about this in the past, and I just want to make the note. As a storyteller online, you cannot always tell when your players are having fun. And that's a negative and a positive. A lot of people quote, there was a ridiculous game we played on the stream a while ago of the script Revenge of the Martian Vampires. And I was looking at that script going, oh, this is interesting. I can see about 3 good setups and nothing else. So I'll use one of those. And then I spent most of the game worrying that people weren't having fun. And we got to the other end of it, and there was not a single player who didn't go, oh my God, that was hilarious. This was amazing. These things happened. And I'd spent literally the entire game with stream on my shoulder going, right, I'm making this call because I'm worried that if I do that thing, then they won't enjoy it. And so I want to say this from both perspectives. If you're playing online, try and keep your finger on the pulse of whether your players are having fun, because if you're not, they're probably not having fun. But also, if you can't tell either way, they're having fun. You will know if they're not having fun as long as you're paying attention.
And point 3, tell your storyteller that you're having fun.
Yeah, that also really helps.
Agonize about this kind of thing.
That also really helps. A smile when you're being woken up to get information or kill someone really gives us an idea of what you want. It just helps understand what's going on. That is yourself who had a question, and I've got you next. And then these two here, and we'll see how this goes, timing-wise.
Eric from previously sunny Southern California.
As in Southern California was previously sunny, or you're no longer from sunny Southern California?
As in California was sunny for an awful long time, but not lately.
Okay.
And my online name is Silent in a way. And my question is, have you considered or do you have plans for alternative beginning scripts, something that can be taught to brand new characters, but with different characters than Trouble Brewing?
Well, that's an interesting one.
Okay, I don't want to just answer this really shortly, so I've waffled a bit at the start. No. It's really hard to do. It's really, really hard to do. Like you can see this. Everyone who's ever done any homebrew, anyone who's ever written a custom script, you look at Trouble Brewing, with a couple of exceptions, that's about as simple as you can get and have the characters be unique. You can do other unique characters that are really simple, but they become either wildly powerful or wildly underpowered. And the problem with that situation is, and we say this a lot, wildly powerful and wildly underpowered characters are fun for experienced players because they know they can deal with it. They can make that work. The evil team can cope. The good team can cope. You make it work. If you give completely new players wildly overpowered or underpowered characters, no one has fun because the game just ends one way or the other and no one enjoys it. So Trouble Brewing is, to praise someone else's work, a masterpiece. Because it does all of those things without having to get too complex. It would be, I see your challenge.
Yeah.
I appreciate that call out. I would always advise you to start beginners on Trouble Brewing. But yeah, we've not got anything at the moment, but we can see what we can do.
Just play Avalon.
Or actually, yeah, to be fair, Among Us, quite a good starter social deduction game. A lot of hate in the gaming community for Among Us, and also a lot of love, as in the board gaming community. I saw a face. The video gaming community enjoy Among Us. A lot of the board gaming community were like, this is just like basic ass game. And it's like, yeah, but do you know what you need sometimes is get people into a game. And if you can turn around to someone and go, you know how you really enjoy Among Us? Like, there's this game called Blood on the Clocktower, and it's better. Right, I had 2 questions over there and 1 here. I think we're going to take this one first, and then there were 2 over there that I couldn't see which order you put your hands up in. So yourself?
So my name is Chris, and I really enjoyed the organ grinder. I just like that it changes the entire like a core mechanic of the game. And I was curious if there was any other core mechanic that you guys would think would be fun to kind of mess with.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, there is. We can't tell you about it.
You can play this game for yourself. I encourage you to do this. This is the most fun way to come up with unique characters. Think about things that you think of as givens in the game, and then mess with them. We can't tell you about them. You've already got 2 characters out of it this weekend. Be happy. We've just, the organ grinder, messes with the core mechanic. Do you know what else messes with the core mechanic? Vizier. I see you're voting.
I think
couldn't give a shit. There are more of them. They're really, again, The organ grinder is a great example. Some people hate the organ grinder. Some people love it. Some people are going to, trust me, some people are going to hate the vizier and some people are going to love the vizier. This is what happens every time you have that fundamental a core character that messes with the core rules. It can be really unfun for some people, can be really fun for other people. So the problem with them is making them work in a way that most people are going to enjoy becomes difficult. Like, you know, messing with some of the default rules of the game becomes really hard, not least because a lot of the times you mess with the default sort of core assumptions of the game. By messing with those, what you're functionally doing is messing with rule 1, you can say anything at any time. And what you're basically doing with a lot of the core mechanics that you mess with, you basically go, oh yeah, this person just doesn't get to have fun. And that's the problem with the core mechanic ones. There are some, trust me, there are some. There are some that are so broken that I'm not even close to having an idea of even how to run them, let alone write an almanac for them. And then there are some that look easy and simple, and they're just like, yeah, this messes with the core mechanic. And then you look at it again and go, and this messes with that character and that character and that character and that character. There is a character out there that this man tried to suggest that we might want to release at some point. And I went through trying to work out how many characters I might need to jinx. And this is my short list of maybe a jinx. 102.
It's called the orthodontist.
I apologise, I misspoke. 100 and tooth. We'll have both the guys that were over here, I think. And then yourself? Yeah.
Hello. My question is a bit twofold, to a degree business and community focused. Obviously, all of us weirdos at this convention have already bought our grimoires, and I would love to see the game like supported over the years and stuff. So is it in terms of growth, which leads me to the next part of the question, is like, how are you with getting Clocktower into different languages into Europe? And a lot of the publicity is like the charming people on streams and stuff. And as much as I would like to pay money to see Ben storytell in German or French, it will be probably more difficult. So how do you plan, if at all?
Just so you know, I have a GCSE in German.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Ben, how long ago was your GCSE in German?
It's, just a few years. I'm 22.
I can talk about the translation bit a bit if you want to do the other bit.
This is a great example, and we spoke about this earlier on, of like, there's a whole bunch of things that are really, really important and we should be doing right now, but we just don't have the resources and or manpower to do it. Translation is one of those things. Like, if we want to win an award at Essen, the game needs to be in German. Like, that's a thing, and we want to win an Essen award if possible, right? But we just don't. There are a million other things. If we were to focus on translating the game right now, we would then have to stop focusing on the expansions. And you know, some people would love for us to do that. Some people would be very disappointed if we did that.
Yeah, there is like that is happening. The translations has been a focus for a long time because we're very aware that TPI have got a partnership with a company in China who have translated the game into Chinese, and then we've got the Western world using an English edition, and then everyone else has to either translate it themselves or deal with it, which is most of the population of the world. And that's not ideal. And that's even before we get into... I have been running games here this weekend for someone who is legally blind, and they don't have Braille editions. And all of these problems all stack up, and that's another thing and another thing and another thing. So I want to call out two things. One, we really want this to be done as soon as possible. We're trying to make it happen. We need to find ways to make it happen without it being a massive workload on the current TPI staff. The Chinese translation process was difficult because it consisted of Steve was having daily meetings with the translators where they were asking him questions. And that's obviously a massive waste of his time. But also, every time you look at a character, you need to convey the intent while keeping the wording as similar as possible. And translating is actually harder than writing the damn game in the first place. So it's a lot to work on, and so there's a whole thing there. And I said I had 2 points. You can tell I'm tired. Nope. There was going to be another one, but it'll come back to me in a minute. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to call out is you are an excellent community. Those translations at the moment are unofficial, but they're the way that people are getting to play the game, and we've got to love that. I think, judging by the accent, you were presumably, we had it mentioned that there was someone here from Norway. Is that you, my friend? Or is that? No. It's not. It's just.
I live in the UK, but I'm German.
Okay, fair enough.
I knew that from my GCSE ed.
All right. All right, just because I did Latin.
Oh, wow, what a flex. Ain't got no time for these living languages.
It makes French and Spanish much easier. 10 minutes, cool. We've only got 10 minutes, which means I need to shut up. But translations in other languages, at the moment, the best way to get them is from the community. And I think there's no situation where TPI aren't going to be grateful to the people in the community who have enabled others to play, and so when this gets published, there's a massive shout out from TPI for those people who have done it unofficially to allow people to play the game. That's massive, and we love you.
Yeah, thank you, sincerely, from the bottom of the heart. We really appreciate that.
Yourself, yeah. This is a small enough room that I can make eye contact with the people who I know are asking questions, which helps. Go on.
Hi, MJ, House Slytherin. So my question is kind of based from professional experience on when might the VR version of the app be back up and performable? Is there any ETA on that, or is that more
thing
back
is cursed? I'll be honest with you. I can't begin to tell you how disappointed I was that we weren't able to do that, because it's so much fun and it's worked so many times before. Well, Murphy's Law, right? The moment you try and do something in any kind of more official or professional capacity, it just screws up. We want to do it again, but I think we need to probably spend some time ensuring that the server and I don't even know what went wrong, frankly. Do you?
No, I got a load of jargon from the people who made it, and I went, so it's not working. That's basically what I got. It's really the problem with VR environments is that anytime you're trying to do something within that, you're layering on top of it. And the whole thing about VR is it's already quite intensive. And then you go, oh yeah, and we also want to make all of these mechanics and things happen, and then have you interacting with everything else. Yeah, it's difficult. We would like to do more. Ben was so excited about that stream, and then so upset when he had to go, this isn't working, I can't make this work. So yeah, it'll happen.
It will, I promise.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Skills.
Come on. Come on, my boy.
What question could you possibly have, Skills?
If this question is aimed at me, Skills. That's actually fine.
In this country,
first of all, International House of Pancakes. The question is storytellers. Being basically the faces of the game for an extended period of time. As much as Ben is seen, Ed is known for being the rules lawyer and being into the thousands of story-told games now. How do you keep it fresh? How do you stop the burnout for storytellers that may be trying to get this game out into the community? What do you do to personally keep yourself vested and interested?
Well, the answer to that question is identical to if you'd said, you've been with your girlfriend now for 10 years. How do you still enjoy that person? No. But seriously though, like some things you are just passionate about, and it defies logic. That's what's so awesome about it. I've never gotten bored with Blood on the Clocktower. I don't think I ever will. Even to this day, I'm running games of beginner trouble brewing and things that I've not experienced before are happening. That's the beauty of all the variables that this game has.
I mean, we should put this in context. Ben spent 3 years professionally traveling up and down the UK and running beginner games of trouble brewing, usually 4 or 5 evenings a week, minimum, and then conventions at weekends on top of that, and then anything else he wanted to run in his own time. And then we had, a pandemic, and he ran it online. This man has run more Blood on the Clocktower than anyone on this earth, and still has fun.
Yeah, it never gets boring.
So some people will have different answers to that. Like, it is possible to burn out, and I don't want to dismiss that at all. But one of the joys of the game is that it is mutable, and you can tailor it to what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. If you're feeling burnout, you need to look at what is not fun. What's not fun for you? What has been not fun for you? What's contributing to this? Usually, if you're feeling burnout, it's pressure and it's expectation. That's most of the things. And so if you're feeling burnout, that is the time that you need to turn around to your other storytellers and go, I need you to take the load, dude. I need you to help me and run this show for a while. You need to turn around to the other people in your group who can be your community leaders and organizers and go, you need to do the faff of getting people together for the next couple of months because I need a break. You need to recognize that burnout is a thing, and this is a problem you can have. You need to have a chat with your friends. Capelli and John Jenset and I earlier went and had a beer. We were like, no, we're not scheduling anything. We're going to go and sit by ourselves and have a chat just about anything and chill out. And that's important as well. This is a community, and this is the people you love, and you're getting to play games together. If you're getting fed up of it, reconnect with what you love about it. And in my case, that means getting to spend time with people that I love. So to do what you need to get over that.
Yeah, I think it's important to note as well that the people you're running for are infinitely more important and more entertaining than the characters in the bag. And so I've got the immense privilege to be able to run for a completely different group of human beings week in, week out. So it never gets boring because there's always different people. Really, it's that simple.
Yeah, and that's credit to you, all of you. You're all here coming to this convention. If you couldn't tell, this is me saying a nice thing to wrap up, because I just got a face from behind. Credit to the community, and I can never say this often enough. I said it at the top, and I'm going to say it at the bottom of this. Every time anyone ever says to me, what is it you love about Blood on the Clocktower? It's you lot. You make every game fun. You make being part of the community fun. You make talking to each other fun. You make getting to meet each other after all this time fun. You make us getting to roll up here and have people come up and go, Ben, I've watched every stream, or Ben, I really like this thing, or Ed, I'm so grateful that you do this thing for us. Or when we've done the character release and you're like, oh, you did this thing for the con. Like, that's joyous. And I don't want to understate that you make that happen. It's not like we get to do mechanical stuff. We get to do like visible stuff. We don't do shit without you lot out there making it happen. I suddenly realized that I possibly wasn't supposed to spare for the last hour, but it's a bit late now. We don't do anything without you lot making that happen. And I would like all of you to give yourselves a round of applause for being lovely people.
Right.
Hey,
should we wrap this up before Pele explodes?
As the unofficial MC, all right, bugger off, you lot.